Hi, everyone. It's Michael Fern here for the LSP Method Podcast, and I have another wonderful guest. They're all wonderful, but particularly wonderful, and you'll see why in a minute. So I have Briony Supple. Hi, Briony.
Hi, Michael.
The reason why you're such a special guest is because you might have detected already, everyone, there isn't a hint of an Australian accent. But Bryony lives over in Ireland, in Cork. So she is a senior lecturer at University College Cork, UCC, in Ireland. And she does a lot of fascinating things. Obviously, a Lego series play facilitator, does a lot of things with design thinking. So I want to hear it all, Bryony. I want to hear everything. Anything you want to add to your bio there, besides being an
No, I think
Australian
you've
in
pretty much
Ireland?
covered it. Yeah, senior lecturer in design thinking in UCC. Been in UCC now for 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so and I think I'll be asked for a long time where I'm from, even after 9 years being here. So the accent doesn't seem to be going anywhere fast.
That's good. The strong Australian accent. We like to hear it.
Yeah.
Cool. So obviously, how long ago was it Lego Series Play? About 5, 6, 7 years ago? I can't remember how long we sort of caught up and you learnt Lego Series Play.
Yeah, 2021. So it was
Okay,
during
around
COVID,
pandemic.
just when
Yeah, so it's about
yeah,
5 years. Cool,
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Um, so tell us about Lego Series Play. Obviously, you do a lot of teaching, being a senior lecturer, and your areas around design thinking. But tell us about Lego Series Play. So how have you used it with clients? And we'll get on to how you've been teaching with it as well. But yeah, tell us with clients. It's not all about just teaching students. What's some of the ways that you use it?
Yeah, so I suppose like initially my introduction to Lego Serious Play was through teaching. It was a teaching and learning conference
Mm,
in 2018. I hadn't heard of it previous to that. So when I did the certification then in 2021, I kind of initially was using it with my students, and then it seemed to just gain traction externally. People on LinkedIn were just reaching out to me to say,
mm,
I've seen or heard you do this thing, LSP. Often it's like, we want to do something cool in our organization and different. We see
mm.
use Lego, not really sure what we want, but will you come and meet us? So I think the first session I had externally to a kind of a learning and teaching context was a kind of a vision and mission for an organization that were doing a company merger. So yeah, after doing that, I was kind of yeah, it got me interested then in this combination that I could use between education and industry. And yeah, I think I've done the company merger. That was one of the early ones. Medical Reps Ireland, like it's just fascinating people who kind of come out of the woodwork doing
Yeah.
team building kind of stuff. I've done work with Football Association Ireland, also kind of overlaid with design thinking. So it's often with this kind of interest in design thinking as well. Some of the briefs land on my desk.
Yeah, fascinating. I always say it's so interesting all the different people that contact you around Lego Serious Play. You just mentioned football and sports, obviously education, medical stuff. I think it's one of the things that sort of keeps me going with it. It's the different people you get to meet, it's the different stories you get to hear. Now you would get to hear a lot of that also with your students. So you were saying you use it a fair bit, and that's how you started using it with your students. So tell us a bit about that. Like how do you sort of integrate it or weave it into some of your courses or your teaching?
Yeah, so the course I was teaching on when I did the certification was called a Postgraduate Diploma in Innovation through Design Thinking.
Mm,
And being COVID, it was a fully online
mm,
program. So my first use or utilization of LSP with my students was fully online.
mm.
And we looked at it it was really around problem solving. They were reaching, because again, the kind of the time and semester we were reaching once I did the certification was the students kind of coming to the end of their projects. And I was just interested in maybe using it to help them think through some challenges that they were facing in their projects.
Mm,
So I just said to them, look, if they had access to some Lego at home,
mm.
go through their kids,
Yeah.
toy boxes or, nieces and nephews or whatever Lego they could find. And they then built individual models, and we used Padlet then to capture images. So that's how we
Mm,
could share the images of their project. So it was really around a challenge that you face in your project and how you're going to overcome that. That was kind of my first
yeah.
experiment then. And after COVID, so even though the course was kind of designed as fully online,
Mm,
even after COVID, we still taught fully online. So
mm.
I've used it in the last 4 to 5 years, either in a fully online session or in hybrid, where I've had some students in the room and some students online, some students building in the room together and some students doing builds online. So
Yeah.
always kind of around that problem solving around yeah, projects usually.
Yeah, cool, cool. Oh, it's fascinating talking about online Lego Serious Play again because it was obviously all the rage around the time of the pandemic. But it's so fascinating because it's like I feel like I've had this reaction to it where I just want to get in the room now, but I love that you are still using it online because of your course. Like as in one of the things that I always say with Lego Serious Play, whether it's in person or online, like it's always going to be better, a better meeting, a better workshop, a better class than if you didn't use it. And
Yes.
so I think to continue that on, not just because it's a pandemic, but because you're utilizing it to enhance, the online course that you're doing and the hybrid one, I think that's fantastic. Like, because it pops up in certifications a little bit where people are like, oh, can you do it online? And I'm like, yeah,
Mm.
like I presume you're doing just a lot of individual models with the online stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've done a couple of, again, little different experiments. So I've used Padlet where you can kind of drag and drop the images. So people then uploading the images and dragging and dropping them. So being able to cluster them and you can also draw lines between them. So
Yeah.
kind of doing that or saying to someone, look, if they're in an online group, if someone in the group has a bigger set of kit than the others,
Mm.
then be the hands for the other person on behalf of them and build, to kind of instructions as a kind of a shared model.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've kind of experimented with it, but I found, like you said, with the certifications, it's come up a lot. It has come up in certifications, and I suppose what I've said to people is don't let people being online be the barrier. Like you
Yeah.
said, if there's an opportunity to use it, then using it is better than not using it for me, and even
Mm.
experimenting with, how can people use it, in when they're all not co-located.
Yeah.
The biggest learning for me, I think, as well, the online or hybrid in particular, because hybrid's really messy when you've got people in the room, people online, and you're trying to coordinate the conversations between the two. Is
Yeah.
what's really helped me is having somebody in the online space as a kind of a co-facilitator. So
Mm.
then when there's the feedback, they can manage that feedback. I can mute them while they're talking and I can have people in the room and then we kind of can interact together. Again, it can just depend what people have access to, but I've just found that lessens my cognitive load of having to manage what's in the room and online, and then we come
Yeah.
together for the conversation after.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love what you said about not letting it be a barrier. And it's what you mentioned even at the start of that story around just find whatever Lego that you can. Like I think we've all had that experience with Lego Serious Play. Well, maybe not all, but I definitely had it where it felt very restrictive. Like you got to do it this way, you got to do it that way, you got to use this Lego, you've got to do it, these steps. And I love your spirit of just taking the method and going, well, don't let it be a barrier. Like whatever Lego you have, experimenting with, even landscapes online and experimenting with the hybrid, online stuff. I think I think that's the exact spirit that you want in Lego Serious Play. Like it's how I try and teach it. It's such like just a foundation for you to sort of combine, obviously your wealth of knowledge from all of your teaching and facilitation experience that you've had over the decades. So it's so nice to hear someone just out there doing it. And I'm not surprised given your, topic is around innovation and, design thinking. It's like you're living the ethos of, well, you trial things and you adjust and things like that. So, but it's so nice to hear it in action. That's so cool.
Yeah, and I think again that's really what I also try and get across when I do the certifications is the flexibility of it. And that's
Mm,
really what I love about it. I think that's the real magic in it, that once you have those techniques and you understand the approaches, then when people are saying to me in the sessions, can I use it for this? Like, it's like, yes, let me answer that already before you ask the question.
yeah,
Yes, but what's the question?
yeah.
What's the question and what's the outcome? And if you're thinking through those things rather than, and I mentioned this last week to a group I had, it's almost like a technology. It is a form
Mm,
of technology in some
mm,
ways. So, when we talk about teaching, we're often like, don't put the technology before the teaching. What do you want to achieve? And then how does the technology help you
yeah,
achieve that aim? And for me, it's the same with Lego. Like, don't just look at it as the bright, shiny, cool thing, but what do you want to achieve out of it? And that also for me is the serious piece. What do you want people leaving the room feeling that they've
Mm,
achieved? That for me kind of boils down to, well, that's serious in Lego serious play.
yeah.
But I think that's the real magic in the method, is that flexibility to say, like we were saying, if there's the opportunity to use it, then go for it.
Yeah. I love that you use the metaphor of it being a technology. And I'm just thinking, I always think of it as this analog technology,
Yeah, totally.
but I love what you said. It fits with your principles of what's the outcome and then what are the best tools and technologies and methods to do that. And this just happens to be, as we know, one that fits nicely in, an analog one that's very different from a lot of the digital ones that we now have. It's funny, I think with a bit of my teaching, I've come to this. I feel like I'm giving permission for people, like say in a client workshop, permission to play. And it's almost like with when you're teaching the method, you're giving people permission to sort of experiment with it. And it's almost like you got to get to the point where we don't need to give permission. It's built into the ethos of Lego Series Play that
Mm.
you don't need permission from anyone to experiment with it. It's like that's what it is. It's just a simple set of activities that you can combine it with whatever outcome you're trying to achieve and the right question, and adjust and adapt. But it's almost like at the moment it's you need to give people permission, but I want to get to a point where they just don't need it because they're already out there willing to give it a go. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. I always love these podcasts because I'm just fascinated. It makes me think of like Lego series play differently and things like that. So that's a lot about we talked a little bit about your client stuff. So some of the sessions there. We talked a little bit about the education things. Any particular sessions that stick in your mind from a good or bad perspective, or anything you can share publicly, like maybe one of
Yeah.
your early sessions or interesting characters? I always love to hear these stories.
Oh, there's always interesting characters. I think the interesting characters are always the ones that kind of out themselves as skeptics. I really like
Mm.
that. And I'm kind of like, look, my job isn't here to convince you. And sometimes I'm kind of like the method will speak for itself, do you know?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
I have had those skeptics come up to me by and large. I think everyone who has admitted they're a skeptic has come up after the end, even to the extent of saying, look, I'm still a little bit skeptical, but I remember one session, it was like there were some fairly high flying people in the room,
Mm.
like a lot of significant kind of power, I suppose, in the organization. One person who again said they're a skeptic, and then afterwards came up and said, we had more in-depth conversation today than that I'd expected, and B, that I thought was possible. I was surprised that Lego allowed us to do that. So
Yeah.
again, my approach is I'm not here to win you over. I'm just here to do my thing. I suppose when you're being parachuted in as an external person, you can kind of walk away with that a little bit as well to
Yeah.
go, okay, I've done my thing. But I'm always really fascinated with that kind of that skeptics piece for
Yeah,
sure.
it's so
Um,
interesting that because I sense that a lot, and I've heard a lot of those stories where it is the I didn't expect that, and I didn't think it would be as good. I don't know. Maybe we were just really good at setting low expectations to start with, and then we blow people's minds. But or
that's right.
maybe it's just the Lego. Maybe it's like people have had such experiences with previous sort of team building type Lego stuff
Yes,
that they just come in with
yes.
these expectations. And I think what you said before about let the method speak for itself, like I'm a big fan at the start of your client sessions. Like, you've got to build the credibility, the social proof, and there's a whole bunch of things that I say, and I know that you would say as well, that sort of start to build it up in people's minds. But I think in the end, you just got to do enough of that, and then just let the method speak for itself. Like you said, like you could like a lot of people ask, "Oh, Michael, we go through the sciencey stuff in the certifications, as you know, and they're like, oh, should I lay all the science out?" And I'm just like, you probably don't want to spend half an hour talking about the science. Just literally just do the method and
Get in
people
and do
will
it.
realize it.
Yeah.
You need to do a little bit up front, but a little bit of that credibility building. But otherwise, just like you said, let the method speak for itself. And
Yeah, and I do think as well, coming back to what I was saying about the serious piece for me dropping in, and I think that's where you get the skeptics as well, because for me, a session has failed if people walk out and go, well, that was great fun, but that was 2 hours wasted of my life, or B, that was a waste of 2 hours, and now I'm going back to my day job. So that's that serious piece at the end, often the non-Lego piece, which is
Mm,
the action going forward, or it's the what are we going to take away from this session? And I think that kind of grounds it and lands it with, okay, we actually have this tangible outcome
mm,
that we're leaving the room and going forward with and I think that's sometimes where team building, at least team building I've experienced before, kind of fails, is that
mm,
you do all the kind of the woo woo airy fairy stuff
mm.
and you go, okay, I did learn three extra facts about my colleague from today or whatever, but
Yeah.
what does that mean in my day to day around changing communication or changing our team vision or whatever that is. So
Yeah.
I think for me, that's also such an important part of the session, is bringing it back to that, that kind of tying it up, tidying it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I often think about some of those other things you described. It's almost like we do something because we're all in the business of change. Like that's we as facilitators are, but most humans, we're in the business of we're here now. We need to, change something to get to a different future. Like, and
Mm.
so as facilitators, I think some of those other things you've described, whether it's sort of a softer team building stuff, I think you do something and then it's almost like it's a dotted line or a very fuzzy line to a solid outcome. And I think that's burnt a lot of people in the past with a lot of
Yes.
stuff. And that's why I'm so, it's like you described, such a big fan of you just need to make that connection rock solid. It's like we need to like put the Lego away and boom, for half an hour at the end, you need to just go hard on an action change. What does it mean? What does it do for us once we get out of the room? And I often say the Lego series play part is like this, it's the middle part. It's sorry for all the vegetarians. It's like the meat in the middle. It's the chunky bit in the middle where it's like you've got to really sort of, it does wonderful things, but if it's just that, you sort of you need more. You need like something to spit out the end of it. I got a lot of food metaphors there. Obviously, just I'm hungry or something.
You know.
Yeah. That's cool. So yeah, it's the skeptic. Yeah, and sort of subtly turning them around. It's definitely it's
Mm.
almost like we need archetypes of Lego Serious Play people and their journey as well. You've mentioned a couple of times as we've gone through this that you've now got into certifying people. So obviously, we know, but people probably don't know you're part of the partner program with the LSP method, and you've been off certifying people. How have you found going from obviously you still do a lot of client work, you still do a lot of education stuff, but also adding in now teaching other people the method? Has anything changed? Like, have you seen the method differently, or how's that journey been for you?
Yeah, I have seen. So first of all, I love it. I've always really loved the train the trainer space.
Mm,
So I think it's definitely my happy place. It has made me look at the method. I think even just refresh, my own techniques, because I suppose
mm,
you get into a bit of a groove
mm,
around, when somebody comes to you with a brief and you're like, okay, well, I've got these things in my head, like
mm,
team building. Okay, I know in my head what I'm going to do, what the questions are going to be, da da da.
mm.
And then when I started teaching the method, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that bit. Or oh, there's that
Yeah.
exercise. So it's just like anything that it forces you to be on your feet a little bit more, or kind of
Mm,
ahead of the curve a little bit more.
mm,
But I've really, really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed yeah, seeing people kind of even come to the method really new, because I've done certifications for people who haven't necessarily been to an LSP session
mm,
before, and then they're certifying. So, for them to be taking, wearing the hat of participant and then to facilitator and changing those hats, and then by the end of the second day, be talking people through and be facilitating. It's like, wow, it's really cool to see that
the journey.
journey.
Yeah.
And I do love the spaces and places where people talk about how they're going to use it. It's really
Mm.
fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that of certification, train the trainer. Like, just you did talk about keeping on your toes, and I think it does. It requires you to think about it from almost like not the beginner, but the foundation, because people are coming in from different angles. They're going to use it in different ways. And I love just hearing how people are using it. And that's the biggest reason why I started doing it and why I like to help people set up their own certifications is the impact that you see. Like, for instance, with you, like seeing where you're doing it and what you're doing with it on the client side. And I mentioned just before the podcast, I had a chat with a guy here, Lucas, in Australia, who does it with sports people, which we've done a podcast on before. And like to see where they go with it, like that's sort of one of the highlights. It's nice being in the room. It's nice hearing the stories with the client workshop that you do, but to also teach it to someone and to see the places they go that you could never get to. I think that's very satisfying, as I'm sensing it is for you as well, where you can, you sort of keep in touch with where these people take it. And
Yeah, definitely. And I do, like you mentioned that word impact. Like I think you can see that impact because yeah, like you said, you're in touch with people as opposed to facility, like sessions I've done with 100 people of
mm,
client sessions where you, like I said, you kind of parachuted in and you do your stuff and then you leave. And
mm,
then, unless you're kind of in contact with those people to see what were the fruits of that, or did it actually, did it result in whatever, better communications, da da da. But they're harder things, I suppose, to track as opposed to seeing 8 people in the room who've then gone off and you see on LinkedIn, oh, I did this session,
yeah,
like
I love
the
seeing those.
certification I did in February, and someone literally went in, finished on the Sunday, was in on Monday morning. And then
Love it.
posting about Monday afternoon about their session they'd done. I was like, that is awesome.
That is
That
so
is
good.
awesome.
I love hearing that. And that's the big thing I find from certification is it's like, everyone has to go back to their lives. Well, the certifications are always these magical 2 days where it's like you're with your tribe, like they're
Yeah.
trainers, they're educators, and it's like this safe space where we often don't get to talk about this stuff because we're off. It's a very isolating profession being a facilitator. You're off doing your thing, and to get together, it's just always a magical 2 days. But then to see the people that go away, and it's just like they just go hard at it, whether it's whether it's the next, like literally the next day, or whether it's like the next week. I love seeing that, and I love supporting anyone. And I mean, a big part of what I do with my certifications is, sometimes people will go away and it's like, whether it was part of their own business and things have taken over, family life. I love even 6 months later someone coming back and saying, Michael, I love the certification, but I need a bit of help, just a
Mm.
refresher, and to get back up and running with it. I feel like Lego Serious Play is always going to be there for people, and so I love the ones that go hard with it, but I love the ones that come back to it because they recognize it's a tool they want to use. Um, I was thinking, Briony, I would love to do some rapid fire questions with you. I don't think I've done like rapid fire questions with you, so it's or with anyone on the podcast before, but I thought I'd
Okay.
I thought I'd fire a few at you. I should just let
Hit
everyone
me.
know, everyone know out there. I didn't know. I gave Briony no prep. I gave her no questions. I gave her nothing. So this
I
is
don't
all.
even have any Lego in front of me
No,
as a
no, you
playing
don't. I haven't
field.
got you to build anything. Maybe we'll start with a rapid fire one of out of, now that you've been doing it for clients and education and you've been doing the teaching of it, what's the one tip that comes to your mind for people that are either thinking of doing it or have just done it? What's that one tip? Top of
I,
the
I
mind.
think the I think the bottom line, I think that I suppose was a bit of my mantra last week when I was doing certification was just jump in. Just, once you've got your head around the techniques and just jump in, whether it's, worrying about the right kit or worrying about the right question, it's just start.
Yeah.
Because I think, yeah, and I probably it took me a while to do that, I think. So I'm trying to teach others from my mistakes, I think. Because
Yeah.
once you're in, you're like, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally that. I think you're right. I think you just do it. It's such a good tip. And at the worst, you're gonna have some great stories. I've got some great
Yeah,
stories
that's
of
right.
my first sessions where I'm like, damn. But it's like it doesn't blow you up. You're still alive. And then, that's what life is, isn't it? It's just diving in and then having these wonderful stories, whether it's traveling to Romania or other places like you were saying beforehand, or whether it's doing Lego Serious Play. And then I've such fond memories of my first sort of 1, 2, 3 sessions for both good and bad. Like what the first one was go to Stradbroke Island, do a day-long session. Fantastic. The second one was a nightmare. And it's like, it's just that's what the meter, that's just what life is made of. So I
Yeah.
love that. Just dive into it. Okay, another rapid fire question. What's your favorite piece of Lego from the Lego Serious Play stuff? Like you would obviously build a little bit, maybe not as much now that you're facilitating and training it, but have you got a favorite piece from one of the kits
I
that you like to
do.
use?
I do. I love, the is it the starter kit? It's like the 237 piece.
Yeah.
There is a transparent blue brick in that I
Oh,
love.
like the Duplo ones?
This
The big the
it's like
big
a
ones?
dupe, yeah, the
Yeah.
Duplo clear blue brick. I love that one. It's
Yeah.
just something so nice about it, and
I
people are
agree.
often really drawn to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely one of my favorites. I like similarly the little blue globes. They're
Oh
not
yeah,
in
yeah,
this. I don't think they're in the starter kits anymore. They used to be, but I love that transparent blue. There's just, I don't know what it is. Actually think
yeah,
transparent colors, but transparent blue. So
yeah,
that's fantastic. I'm
yeah.
totally with you on that one. Totally with you. All right, another rapid fire question. This is more just not even Lego Serious Play, but just broadly. What aren't we talking enough about? Like, what isn't your industry or your UCC or design thinking? What's something we aren't talking enough about that you just like, oh, why aren't we talking about this more?
Aren't we talking about?
I know I've stumped you.
Yeah, you have. You have. It's like, what are the unknown unknowns?
What are you
Um,
passionate about that you don't think people are paying enough attention to, either in your field or in life in general?
um, I'm not sure because I think the big, again, I suppose I'm fresh off doing that certification last week.
Mm,
And so I'm conscious of for example, the agents activity and people building the agents.
mm,
And I think that kind of that really brought to the surface a lot of things like AI, for example. I mean, I
mm.
think you know, as a topic, we're certainly talking about AI, whether we're talking about the right things regarding AI, perhaps
Yeah,
that's one to consider.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I think certainly with education, there's both this, there's this fear and there's this excitement and not really knowing where it's going. But yeah, and that was certainly a theme that came through with the training last week, is this idea of AI, and even as an agent, is it a positive agent or a negative agent? And
Mm,
can we really be that kind of simplistic around it?
yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm going to take the easy way out and say that, Michael.
No, I like that. And you know what? I've just been reflecting on doing these rapid fire questions, and the fact that we aren't doing any building, it's like it's so like I often reflect on the Lego Serious Play method because I'm just firing it at you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And you're
yeah.
like thinking at the moment, and I just think,
Yes,
oh, if we were doing this with Lego, you'd have your moment, like you'd have your
yes,
quiet moment to
that's
build
right.
your 2 minutes, your rapid fire things. You'd be engaging your hands, you'd have this stuff, you'd be talking more in metaphors, and it's just so interesting when you do enough of this, you reflect on how we normally, converse and how
Yes.
different it is with Lego Serious Play when you're adding in all these other modalities. So just while you were doing that, I was reflecting on the process as well.
Yeah, because even the term rapid fire is like, oh, I know that from somewhere. Oh, yeah, we
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah. That's the phrase I like to use for the ideation, just yeah, rapid fire. All right, this is probably one last one is the future for you of and with Lego Series Play, with UCC, with you don't you don't have to out yourself that you're leaving or anything. I'm sure you're not. You're probably getting to tenure sometime soon anyway. Yeah, what's the future hold for you and what you want to be doing?
So, yeah, I think the future definitely includes LSP
Mm,
in whatever way, shapes, or forms, really. I mean, yeah, just continuing to do that, and bringing that into my teaching as I
mm,
can. I'm developing, so I will actually be moving roles in a couple of months' time. So it's more in the kind of the academic development space. So I'm developing a 5 credit module as part of that new role, which is in design thinking for higher education,
mm.
kind of problem solving higher education. So there will be, spoiler alert, there will be LSP as part of that for
Yeah.
sure. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm also interested, as I said, kind of at the top of the conversation, that my first introduction to LSP was at a teaching and learning conference.
Mm.
And I'm kind of thinking, am I starting to then close the loop and bringing it back into that
Mm.
space now that I've been on this journey with design thinking and that kind of thing? So, yeah, I don't know. I think I think it's just looking at what opportunities are possible, and always happy to travel as well and
Yeah,
include that
yeah.
as part of the remit. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Just, once you have a tool like Lego Series Play, and you start using it in different parts, like you do it in education, you do it with client work, you're teaching it to people, and even just traveling around to do it. Like there's just so many people around the world that could be doing it. I hear you on all those things. It's always so exciting to see it weaved in and out of everything that you do. And yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I'm looking forward to you doing more certifications. You obviously do them down in Cork as well. And I know you're going to be doing them elsewhere. And I'm always fascinated, and you should follow Briony on LinkedIn, everyone. I'm always fascinated when you post stuff on there about, how you've been using it for in the different modes as well. There's always a lot to learn from watching people at you know, at the top of their game using it in lots of different ways. Because as you know, and as you probably teach it as well, you know, it's the combination, I think, of Lego Serious Play and what you have. So for you, it might be design thinking, your education experience. I just think that's the frontier for Lego Serious Play. Like it started off as this behemoth 2-day, you know, strategy workshop, and you know, over time we've got it to, you know, more manageable chunks. But you know, straight Lego Serious Play, which is what I mostly do, is fine and great. But I see the combinations are just endless with all the tools that you and others have been using. So yeah, I think it's worth following Briony, definitely worth following Briony along, and a lot of other people on LinkedIn to just see how they're doing it. And a bit of a
Yeah,
spoiler alert, which, sorry to interrupt, a bit of a spoiler alert. We're going to get Briony doing a course. I've outed you now. We might be getting you to do a little online course together in the future about your experiences, and diving a bit deeper into some of the things that we've sort of touched on in this chat.
Yeah, and I think part of that broader community, I mean, it's like anything, you know, the community of practice or whatever, but I think what you've created as well with the partner program, you know, that's really great. And I follow a lot of the partners who I've never met. I don't
I
think I've
probably
met
should get
any
you
of them
together
face
more
to
often.
face. But just seeing, yeah, you know, the places you will go with Lego kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's great to see people like, and that again, that's I suppose part of what I bring into the training is to say you can find all these different people on LinkedIn and how they've made it their own, how they've really put their disciplinary expertise onto it. And I think that's really exciting for people. I'd really hope that people doing the certification kind of are like, wow, okay, I can
Yeah.
see that this is a blank template for me to be able to add that in rather than saying this is a discrete thing and I have to
Mm.
do it this way and my expertise sits here. I think there's
Yeah.
so much scope to merge the two.
And that's why I just look forward to the future with Lego Series Play, and just seeing, it's almost like it's a slightly different method for everyone. Like, you know, just seeing how you use it versus someone like Lucas in sports, and, you know, Paul and Lucy, we've talked about, you know, sustainability coaching. It's like the different flavors. It's so amazing to see it out there like that. And it's just time in the end. Like a big part of, you know, it's funny how you mentioned we haven't got together as a partner group really, really in years. But I always just I'm thinking of the very long time frame where it's like, I think we just keep working out of it. It's like you over in Cork, me here in Melbourne, Australia. There's other people doing it, and we share this, and it's almost like you get to have these connections between people you wouldn't normally have. Like you talked about with LinkedIn, it's like you're seeing your tribe dotted around the world doing those things. And you know, with Lego Serious Play, it can be hard sometimes when people are coming to you and they're skeptical and they don't want to do it. And I think it's really satisfying to know that there are many other people around the world doing it, and being able to have that common bond where you just, you know, send them a DM and say, look, I'm a facilitator too. I love stuff. And I don't know, just like I said before, I think facilitators are a very sort of isolated bunch. And I think it's nice to be able to sort of almost signify with Lego Serious Play that you are not just a facilitator, because you don't have to be a facilitator. You can be a lecturer, you can be whoever, but that it's like you're of a particular mindset. You know, for you to do this, it sort of, you know, shows that you're obviously interested in people and their stories and being innovative and engaging and creative. And so it just immediately connects you with a really interesting group of people.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome, Briony. Thank you so much. I'm going to let you go. You've got a busy day. I've got a busy night to put my kids to bed and things like that. So thank you so much. And obviously, is the best place just LinkedIn for people to follow you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
LinkedIn. Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Definitely keep an eye on Briony, and definitely in the future there's going to be more from Briony, and more from the other partners as well. So we're going to be trying to share even more of that wonderful knowledge that's locked away in that brain of yours. So thanks, Briony, and
Thanks, Michael.
thanks everyone. There'll be more podcasts coming out. Catch you later. Bye.